Right now, as you watch this video, your mind is being controlled by 5 powerful psychology tricks. Every decision you think is yours, every purchase you make, every opinion you hold, they're all being shaped by techniques most people never learn about. In the next few minutes, I'll expose the 5 psychology tricks that corporations, governments, and media use to control your behavior. You'll discover how social media hijacks your attention, why news makes you feel helpless, how advertising manipulates your purchases, and the terrifying truth about manufactured opinions. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the world the same way again. Most importantly, you'll learn how to protect yourself from these invisible forces. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever bought something you didn't plan to buy? Or felt anxious about news that doesn't directly affect you? That's not an accident. That's psychology. The first psychology trick is called attention hijacking, and it's happening to you right now. Your attention is the most valuable resource in the modern economy, and there's an entire industry dedicated to stealing it. Social media platforms use something called variable ratio reinforcement, the exact same psychology that makes gambling addictive. Every time you check your phone, you're pulling a slot machine lever. Sometimes you get a reward, a like, a comment, a message, and sometimes you don't. This unpredictability triggers massive dopamine release in your brain, creating an addiction cycle that keeps you scrolling for hours. But here's the psychology trick they don't want you to know. The algorithm isn't showing you random content. It's specifically designed to show you things that provoke strong emotional reactions: anger, fear, outrage, or desire. Why? Because emotional content keeps you engaged longer, and engagement equals profit. Facebook's own internal research, revealed in the Facebook papers, proved that their algorithm amplifies divisive content because it generates more interaction. They knew their platform was making people more polarized and angry, but they kept the system running because it was profitable. The psychology behind this is simple. Your brain can't tell the difference between real threats and digital ones. When you see outrageous content, your fight or flight response activates, flooding your system with stress hormones that make you more likely to engage. The result? Your worldview isn't being shaped by what's true or important, but by what generates the strongest emotional response. You're not choosing what to think about. The algorithm is choosing for you. This psychology trick works because it exploits your brain's evolutionary wiring. We evolved to pay attention to threats and social information for survival. Social media companies have weaponized these ancient instincts for profit. The second psychology trick is manufactured helplessness, and the news media has perfected it. This technique keeps you in a state of passive consumption by flooding you with problems that seem massive and unsolvable. The psychology behind this comes from Dr. Martin Seligman's research on learned helplessness. When people believe they have no control over their circumstances, they stop trying to change them, even when they actually do have power. Here's how the media exploits this psychology. They bombard you with crisis after crisis: climate change, political corruption, economic instability, all presented as overwhelming forces beyond your control. When was the last time a news story told you exactly what you could do to help solve the problem? This isn't accidental. The psychology of helplessness creates passive consumers. Helpless people don't take action. They just keep watching, clicking, and consuming. The news industry discovered that fear and helplessness are more profitable than empowerment and solutions. But here's the psychology trick. Most of the problems you worry about from watching the news will never directly affect you. Yet your brain treats these distant threats as immediate dangers, keeping you in a constant state of stress and anxiety. This chronic stress makes you more susceptible to other psychology tricks. When you're anxious and overwhelmed, Your critical thinking shuts down, and you become more likely to accept simple explanations and quick fixes. The psychology of manufactured helplessness works by overloading your cognitive capacity. When you're presented with too many problems at once, your brain goes into shutdown mode. Instead of analyzing and problem-solving, you become passive and dependent on external sources for information. News organizations use specific psychology techniques to amplify this effect. Dramatic music, urgent graphics, countdown timers, and breaking news alerts. These elements trigger your stress response and make everything seem like an immediate crisis. The goal isn't to inform you or help you make better decisions. The goal is to make you dependent on their content for understanding the world, while keeping you too overwhelmed to take meaningful action. The third psychology trick is the consumer psychology machine, and every purchase you make is the result of psychological manipulation techniques refined over decades of research. Companies don't just sell products, they sell identities, emotions, and solutions to problems they've convinced you that you have. The most powerful psychology technique is called manufactured dissatisfaction. Here's how it works. Advertisers first make you feel inadequate, too fat, too poor, too lonely, too boring. Then offer their product as the solution. This creates a psychological cycle where you're constantly seeking external validation through consumption. Apple is a master of this psychology trick. They don't sell phones. They sell the identity of being innovative, creative, and ahead of the curve. Their marketing psychology makes you feel like using an older phone means you're falling behind or not expressing your true self. But the psychology goes much deeper. Retailers use anchoring bias to manipulate your perception of value. They'll show you an expensive item first, then a cheaper alternative that seems reasonable by comparison, even though it's still overpriced. The psychology of anchoring works because your brain uses the first piece of information as a reference point for all subsequent decisions. That sale price isn't a discount. It's a psychology trick to make you feel smart for buying something you didn't need. Online retailers have taken consumer psychology to terrifying new levels. They track your browsing behavior to create personalized manipulation strategies. They know when you're most likely to make impulsive purchases, what emotional triggers work on you, and how to create artificial urgency. The psychology of scarcity is particularly powerful. Only 3 left in stock or sale, ends in 2 hours, triggers your fear of missing out, causing you to make irrational decisions. Your brain interprets scarcity as value, even when the scarcity is completely artificial. Color psychology is another manipulation tool. Red creates urgency, blue builds trust, green suggests health and nature. Every color in an advertisement is chosen to trigger specific psychological responses. The result? You're not making rational purchasing decisions based on your actual needs. You're responding to carefully crafted psychology tricks designed to separate you from your money while making you feel good about it. The fourth psychology trick is political opinion manufacturing, and your political beliefs aren't as independent as you think they are. Political strategists use sophisticated psychology techniques to shape public opinion without people realizing they're being influenced. One of the most powerful psychology tricks is framing. The same information can be presented in completely different ways to create opposite reactions. A policy can be described as protecting national security or restricting civil liberties. Same policy, completely different emotional response. The psychology of framing works because your brain doesn't process raw information. It processes stories and narratives. Whoever controls the frame controls your emotional response, and emotions drive political decisions more than facts. Political campaigns use micro-targeting psychology to send different messages to different groups. They analyze your online behavior, purchasing history, and social connections to create a psychological profile. Then craft messages specifically designed to influence someone with your particular mindset. This psychology trick is incredibly sophisticated. They know that people who buy organic food are more likely to support environmental policies. People who purchase luxury items respond to different psychological triggers than people who shop at discount stores. The most insidious psychology trick is astroturfing, creating fake grassroots movements that appear to be organic citizen activism but are actually funded by corporations or political organizations. These fake movements use social proof psychology to make you believe that everyone supports a particular position. Social proof is one of the most powerful psychology principles. When you see other people doing something, your brain assumes it must be correct or beneficial. Astroturfing exploits this by creating the illusion of popular support for unpopular policies. Social media amplifies all of these psychology tricks through echo chambers and filter bubbles. The algorithm ensures you primarily see information that confirms your existing beliefs, while making extreme positions seem more popular than they actually are. The psychology behind this is confirmation bias, your brain's tendency to seek information that confirms what you already believe while ignoring contradictory evidence. Social media companies profit by giving you more of what you want to hear, not what you need to know. The goal of political opinion manufacturing isn't to inform you or help you make better decisions. The goal is to make you predictable, to ensure that you will vote, buy, and behave in ways that benefit those who understand how to manipulate these psychology systems. The fifth and most sophisticated psychology trick is the illusion of choice. This technique makes you believe you have freedom while ensuring your behavior remains predictable and profitable. The psychology behind this trick is powerful because choice is fundamental to human identity. We need to believe we're making independent decisions to maintain our sense of autonomy and self-worth. In supermarkets, you might see dozens of different cereal brands, but most are owned by the same few companies. The variety is a psychology trick designed to make you feel like you're making independent choices while ensuring that no matter what you pick, the same corporations profit. This psychology works because your brain equates variety with freedom. When you see multiple options, you assume you have real choice, even when all options lead to the same outcome. The same psychology principle applies to media consumption. You might choose between different news sources, but if they're all owned by the same parent companies and following the same business model, you're not getting different perspectives. You're getting variations of the same manufactured narrative. Even in politics, the illusion of choice psychology keeps people engaged in a system that doesn't represent their interests. You can choose between candidates, but if all candidates are funded by the same corporate interests and operating within the same systemic constraints, your choice doesn't create real change. The psychology of false choice is particularly effective because it makes resistance seem impossible. If you believe you're already free and making your own choices, you won't fight for actual freedom or real choices. Streaming services use this psychology trick masterfully. Netflix gives you thousands of options, but their algorithm determines what you see first. The psychology of choice architecture means that most people pick from the first few options presented, giving Netflix control over your viewing habits while maintaining the illusion that you chose freely. The psychology behind menu design in restaurants works the same way. Expensive items are placed strategically to make medium-priced items seem reasonable. The layout, descriptions, and positioning all use psychology to guide your choice while making you feel like you decided independently. This psychology trick is so effective because it satisfies your need for autonomy while controlling your behavior. You get the psychological satisfaction of choosing without the actual freedom of real alternatives. Now that you understand these 5 psychology tricks, Here's how to protect yourself from mental manipulation. First, practice cognitive distancing. Before making any decision, ask yourself, what psychology tricks might be influencing this choice? Simply being aware of these techniques reduces their effectiveness by 60%. Second, implement decision friction. Wait 24 hours before making non-essential purchases. This breaks the psychology of impulse buying and artificial urgency. Your rational brain needs time to override emotional manipulation. Third, diversify your information sources. Don't get all your news from one platform or perspective. The psychology of echo chambers only works when you're isolated from alternative viewpoints. Fourth, question your emotions. When you feel strong anger, fear, or desire from media content, ask yourself, is this emotion serving me, or is it serving someone else's agenda? Fifth, understand that awareness is your greatest defense. These psychology tricks work best on unconscious minds. The more you understand how they operate, the less power they have over you. These 5 psychology tricks, attention hijacking, manufactured helplessness, consumer manipulation, opinion manufacturing, and the illusion of choice, aren't conspiracy theories. They're documented business models backed by billions of dollars in research. Your attention, emotions, and behavior are products being bought and sold by organizations that understand human psychology better than most people understand themselves. But knowledge is power. Now that you know how these psychology systems work, you can start to reclaim control over your own mind. You can make decisions based on your actual values and needs rather than manufactured desires and artificial fears. The question is, will you use this knowledge to break free from these psychology tricks, or will you go back to being a passive consumer of other people's agendas? For the first time in this video, the choice is actually yours.